Hello, I am Adriana Mejía. I'm the representative and the director of the Colombian Coffee Growers Federation in Europe. I'm a coffee grower myself, and I regret not being there with you in Tanzania, but I'm very happy to be invited by IDH to share with you our experience in the Renovation program. Well, I will share with you first the context of Colombia. It's important for you to understand what coffee means for our country. We have coffee in 52% of the Colombian territory, and we work together at the Federation with 550,000 families. In 2007, we encountered a huge challenge with the climate change, something that we share today. That challenge gave us so many problems that we lost 30% of the total production of Colombia. In 2007, we only produced a little bit above 7 million bags. Today, after a huge effort of the Renovation and Rehabilitation program, which we call the PSF, the Permanence, Sustainability and Future, we can happily report that we just produced in the last year 14.2 million bags. We succeed to duplicate in this lapse of time the production of Colombia. How do we get there? For us, was extremely important to have one single program, and that single program enable all participants, public, private, academic, all who wanted to help us to participate in one single way to renovate the country. We put a plan in action. We invited the banks, public and private, and we had, of course, the big support from the Colombian government. Without the Colombian government, national and local, a program of such a magnitude is not possible. Therefore, one of our recommendations is to design your public-private partnership in such a way that everybody can be engaged and can be part of your success. What is also important? To have a strong extension team. At FNC, we have today more or less 1,600 extensionists that have been trained, but they receive additional training for the renovation program. The renovation program had a condition for any producer to access the facility to ask for money and support. All of them had to plant resistant varieties because it was the only way to control the rust disease that was caused by the excess of water. The varieties have some long history. Colombian growers began the research on resistant varieties more than 20 years ago, and therefore we could provide via our research center, Café, we could certify the seedlings and the seeds that were distributed all around the country. You may ask, how did we face the fact that banks do not like to take risk? And coffee is a risky business in Africa and in Colombia. Then, what we have done is most of the money was provided by a financial mechanism from the government itself. And the bank was the channel that we used, the private bank, to facilitate producers to access it. It was a credit, a loan, it was a subsidy, and it was, of course, a lot of work and resources put in by the producers themselves. This means that the credit was designed in such a way that producers could repay once they were having their harvest, not before. We adapted all the facilities to the crop cycle. And one thing that we believe is key is to allow each part of the partnership to exercise its own expertise. Banks know about loans, and that's what they did. And the extensionists were the ones communicating with the producers, because that's the type of people producers trust. We need to remember that coffee producers, the problem we all have in the coffee sector, have an average age today between 57, 59 years old, and it's not easy to convince them to use technology, new technology, and mainly new varieties of coffee. In all the regions you have the demonstration case, how to do it, and you need to let coffee growers to use their own expertise. One thing that we believe should be taken into consideration as well is the ecosystem. How can we protect the landscape of coffee to make it more sustainable from the environmental point of view? From 2007 up until today, we've been planting per year 83,000 hectares of coffee. It is not enough to support the planting of the trees. It is very important, but for coffee growers, we will also need to have a future view of coffee prices. So this is also an invitation for the whole coffee sector to take a look into this, because in Colombia, we spent $600 million so far in this program. It is a huge amount. And the biggest risk for all this effort is the coffee price and the price volatility, something that we all face on a daily basis. Well, I've been asked in different forums about tips and suggestions, what kind of things we will mention as important ones. The nurseries are a key factor. You need to reduce the mortality at nursery because that is where you lose money. You need to be sure that the practices, the phytosanitary practices in each nursery are very good. Another thing that we can add to the program is a fertilization support program. This is a challenge we all encounter in all the coffee countries. We present this as a big claim in all the meetings all around the world, and I imagine you are also discussing this in this forum. Adding fertilization adds also a lot of cost to the renovation program, but it is very important to integrate it. And one asset that you must address when you are developing a program is a database, a very strong database that will enable you to know exactly the amount of land that the coffee grower is having and how many trees is he planting, because you need to control it. If you're going to give money from subsidies, you need to be sure that that money is well invested. Talking about tips and questions, one key question is, what is the ideal role from any government? For us, the government has been fully engaged, has been fully supportive to the program, and has identified the coffee sector as an important sector for the development of the country. The government needs to be there and needs to have a commitment in the long term. This is not a one-year thing. This is not only one government. This is a policy for a sector that needs to take a longer view. I would like to thank everybody for listening to me in this way, not direct as I wish, but I am sure that you're going to have a very productive event, that you will have the opportunity to share many things, and that with the help of IDH, we will be able to put together a way to share our learnings and learn a lot from your own experiences. Thank you very much.